Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'll be showing you how to make this football graphic. As always, watch through the entire duration of the video and like, subscribe, comment, and tell me what you want to see next. Let's get into it. Recently, I had a subscriber request an Inter Milan graphic to be made. So today I'll be showing you how to make this Inter Milan graphic. So let's get to it. So what I'm going to start by doing is taking the blue from one of the kits of Mkhitaryan. And what I'm going to do is invert this and we'll just make some shapes like so. Continue making these shapes across the composition. Like so. And we'll just add one in between the two Mkhitaryan layers. Make sure we've got the same blue selected, like so. Now what we're going to do with the layer mask selected, we're going to come to Gouge and Blur, and we will turn the blur up to around 5.6. And then we'll come to the layer below and do the exact same. Now what we're going to do is change our layer option to soft light and switch our brush to white, reset it to white, and start drawing some light onto the shapes we've made, like so, like this. For our next step, I'm going to add in a grunge border, which you can just search up simply on Envato Elements, on Splash, anything like that. You can just find them, just type in grunge border, and how you make them is you press Ctrl I to invert the colors, and then most of the time you'll just either choose screen or multiply it for your blending options. But just because this is an outline, all we're going to do is just leave it on normal. Now what we're going to do is with the back layer of Henrik selected, we will drop in an image of San Siro, clip it to him, move it across slightly, and now what we'll do is we will black and white it. Now what we're going to do is, now that we've grouped everything together, we will turn our flow down to 20% and start drawing away the mask. And now we'll group everything together again and start drawing away at the bottom. Next, we'll come back into the group and move the image up. So now that we've moved it up, we're going to have to come back in, delete the layer mask, and re-clip it again. Now that we've moved the sensor up again, we're just going to have to clip it back onto Henrik Mkhitaryan. And we will quickly fix up the layer mask, like so. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make some highlights behind him. Behind them both, to be exact. So what we'll do is we'll select this Henrik and press Ctrl I. Sorry, no, we won't. Now what we'll do is we'll come to Filter, Camera Raw Filter. Turn the exposure up to around 0.25. Decrease the contrast. Play around with everything else. Increase the texture and a little bit of the clarity. Turn up the shadows a little bit and increase the sharpening. Come to Color Mixer and turn down the oranges to around 27. And we can see the difference that makes. Now that we like that, we'll duplicate it and copy the layer. And do the same to the other Henrik. And now we'll delete this one. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a clipping mask and select the color option. With our blacks selected with a soft brush, sorry, not with a soft brush, with a hard brush, we're going to draw over Henrik, like so. Draw over the skin color. Now that that's done, what we're going to do is keep that selected and create a black and white mask. And play around with the colors. What we're going to do now is we will group the bottom Henrik together and also start grouping everything together just so we keep our layers clean. So what we're going to do now that it's grouped together, we will create a layer mask and turn our brush down to around 20%, like so. But what I might do now is actually move these out. Next, we're going to drag and drop a photo of Milan in to the background, like so, and set it to multiply. Turn down the opacity to around 14%, or maybe a bit stronger. Create a layer mask, turn your brush to soft, and just start playing around with the masking. Maybe a little bit stronger. Control I. What we're going to do is we're actually going to get rid of the layer mask. Control I. And start brushing back in the parts that we want within the image. There we go. Now that we've seen a little bit more of it, we'll increase the opacity. Like so. Now we're going to double click on this layer of Henrik and create an outer glow effect. I've very quickly just made some changes to the outer part of the image where you can see these arrows and stuff. I've just made them a little bit lighter just because they look a little bit too dark. So we'll just continue to make these changes for the arrows, like so. And because I don't typically like the black and white that we've got there selected, I'm just going to get rid of it. And what I might do is get rid of this mask here and just make a bigger arrow just to take up more of the dead space that we've got. Like so. Now what I'll do is I will mask away this, create a new layer, and draw our colors back on. And again, switch it to blacks and draw our blacks on too. Move this one up, clip all these to that. Control I, get rid of everything, move it back down, and we'll have to make a new mask and repeat the same Gaussian blur process again. Like so. Come to Gaussian blur. And now we can do our same retouching process we just done. Like so. Now what we're going to do is we're going to type our text in. So we'll come to monument extended, and we'll get Henrik's name. First name first. Henrik. Like so. Make it a little bit smaller. Turn our fill down to 0%. And our color to this dark bluish kind of color. And turn our opacity down just a little bit to around 80%. Duplicate it and get his last name. And make the text a lot smaller, like so. And what I might do is actually turn the opacity back up to 100, turn the color effect off and switch this to white, and turn both the fills back up, like so. Make the text a little bit smaller, and then we'll come back into making another layer mask, so solid color, with the last blue color selected. Invert it, and we're just going to make a little arrow, like so. And again, come to filter, Gaussian blur. And what we'll do before that is we're actually just going to go through and make some more little arrows across the composition, just to balance it out a little bit. Now that we've done that, we're going to come back into Gaussian blur and do the same thing, like so. Now what I'm going to do is create a new layer and turn our flow to 100% and draw in some whites behind. Set it to overlay and draw in some more whites behind the images, like so. But now what I'm going to do is with the layer mask selected, we're going to invert it, like so. And just keep drawing in some blues on the images. What we're going to do is we're going to open this in a new project, get the color range, and make sure it's all good. So now we'll come to filter, come to minimum and come to other, select it, convert it to a smart object, come to behind the Vegetarian, increase it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to push this to the middle, turn down our fill, and set the stroke to probably around 3 or 2. Sorry, next step, convert it to a smart object and turn the color overlay to a lighter blue. Something similar to around this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a layer mask and just mask out the bottom and a little bit in the middle, like so. Now what we'll do is we'll come back into the Inter logo and come to our shapes that we've drawn and turn this to soft light, drag it over and make it a little bit smaller and turn the opacity to around 25%. And we can just see the added detail that it makes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to color balance and play around with the colors here. Just a little bit more blue added in, and we'll come to color lookup and see if any color lookup layers work. Found one that sort of does, so we'll turn that down to around 34%. Now press Ctrl Shift Alt and E, convert it to a smart object, come to camera raw filter and play around with the clarity, texture and contrast. Add a little bit of exposure burst. Now come to effects and a bit of grain and vignetting. And there we go. There's how you make this Henrik Mkhitaryan graphic. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, comment what you want to see next. See ya.